Hey guys, this video is going to take a look at the 6.6 practice and provide answers, and I'm going to walk through 4 of the problems from this as well, especially if you are someone who needs some help. So the 4 problems that I'm going to be going over is going to be number 3, number 5, number 6, and number 9. So feel free to skip ahead to those portions of the video depending on whichever one you might need help with. I'm also providing a scroll through right now of the other solutions from this worksheet. So pause this video at any point so that you can take a look at the different solutions that are here. So now that we've done that, now that we've taken care of that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the focused problems here from this assignment, okay? Be number 3. And so number 3, the interesting or more difficult problem here is the fact that they gave us the length of CE as a ratio comparing it to EB. So let's draw on what we know so far. We know that DA has to be a length of 5. Now, what I know about the comparison here is that the length of CE, whatever it is equal to 3/4 of what EB has to be. Now, at the end of the day, what we're looking at here is we're not worried about the actual lengths here. We're worried about what ratio they are in because we're setting a proportion up. So if, for example, EB was, let's say, 1, we know that CE would have to then be 3/4. Now, we could use those numbers to help us with this, but I like to kind of think of picking easier numbers to work with. So instead of that, what if EB were to equal, let's say, 4, for example? Well, because it has to be in the same ratio, 3/4 of 4 would just be a 3. So again, to recap, it doesn't matter if you call this 3 or 4 or 6 or 8 or anything else that's in a 3 to 4 ratio like this. We just have to focus on if EB was some number, what would CE have to be? Because this now gives us 3 numbers to set up our proportion. So now, again, we're going to set up, I like to typically do left side to right side, left side to right side. So we're going to set up x over 3 equals 5 over 4. So this gives me 15 equals 4x. We're then going to solve, I believe that is a decimal, and that is 3.75. That is the length of CD, which is not what they were asking. They were asking what the length of CA was. So CA is just going to be 3.75 plus 5. So that gives us a grand total of 8.75 for number 3. Moving on to number 5, in this question, it once again gives us this ratio comparing AE to EB. So we'll talk about how we do that in a minute. Let's go ahead and label what we already know. CD is 6, CB is 9. So CB is this whole thing, which actually means DB has to be 3. Now we go to the other side and it says that AE is equal to 2/3 of EB. Again, I don't care what their actual lengths are. I care about what the ratio of their lengths are. So let's make EB something. We plug it in and take 2/3 of it, we get AE. Pick something that's going to come out even. Usually if you pick the denominator, because 2/3 of 3 would just be 2, it's probably the safest bet. So let's go ahead and let E be 3. And by doing that, we know that AE must be 2. Now that we have this, we need to test if DE is parallel to AC. And so according to our triangle proportionality theorem, I'm going to find out if 6 over 2 is the same thing as 3 over 3. And you kind of already got a hint from what I just explained, how I just said that. 6 over 2, 3 over 3, that's definitely not the same ratio. So are they parallel? Absolutely not. Let's go to number 6 now. So in number 6, this is the angle bisector theorem, which is the third one from our notes that you watched on the previous video. So what that's basically telling us, let's bring out the highlighter again, is that the length of CD and the length of CB is going to be in the same ratio as the length of DA to the length of AB. Now the good news is that they gave us the length of CA. If they didn't, we would be in some pretty big problems here. We would, because we have 2 missing sides. Since this whole thing is 3, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this side as X. I'm going to mark this side here as 3 minus X. And I talked a little bit about how to do this in the previous video, but basically you're always going to find this in terms of x. You don't want to call this y because you can't solve for an equation that has two variables. So I know that if this is x, this always is going to have to be 3 minus whatever that is. Hence why I called it 3 minus x. This now allows me to set up my proportions. So I would do 3 minus x over 7, and then it would be equal to x over 5. Now I can cross multiply, and now we can solve this. So I get 15 minus 5x. We're going to add 5x over to the other side, and that's going to give me 12x equals 15. We are going to get a decimal for this. 15 divided by 12 gives me 1.25. That's CD. So I'm going to call that 1.25. To find dA, you just simply have to take 3 minus 1.25, and so that's going to give me 1.75 for number 6. And our final question is number 9. Now you'll notice as you look at my work for number 8 and number 10 that there's a lot of stuff going on here, which is actually why I color coded this so that you can see the different problems being done, the separate mini problems. But now let's go through number 9 together so that it'll help you be able to answer how to do 8 and 10. So the first thing and most important thing is label our drawing. All of these little guys, A, B, F, G, B, C, G, H, C, D, H, I, D, E, I, J, those are proportional. Now we have to figure out how they're proportional, what scale factor or ratio they're going to be in, but we have to label our drawing first. So we start with BD. BD is this portion and this portion together, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a little arrow like that. DE is an individual side, I'll call that 3. FH is over here, it's two sides together, so I'm going to call that 14. We're going to have HI, which is 6, and we're going to have IJ, which is 4. Now, the sides that they need, and I actually think I'll take my highlighter to this, is we are going to find GH, which is right here, so that's the yellow answer. And let's go get my blue highlighter, and that's going to be AB. So these are the. Now, in order to do this, my best recommendation is we need to find a ratio of left side to right side. And right now, I actually see a corresponding pair of sides that are in a ratio. DE and IJ are in a 3:4 ratio. So that means every one of these sides, CDHI, BCGH, they're all in a 3:4 ratio. Now, you know you have to find these, but the problem is we don't even know what their corresponding side is. So we almost have to work up this quote unquote ladder here to help us. I think I need to find CD first because that's going to allow the dominoes to start falling. Because if I know CD, I can find BC, say add 14. Once I know BC, I can set up a ratio to find GH, or I should say proportion. Once you know GH, that domino will allow me to find FG, and finally, one more proportion to get AB. So let's do it. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go with different colors here to help you guys see this. So I'll use blue to figure out CD first. So that's going to be x over 6, left to right. 3 to 4 is always my scale factor, so I use that for all my problems. So if it's okay with you, I'm just going to go ahead and put 6 times 3 in my calculator and then divide it by 4. Obviously, you can show your work if need be. So 18 divided by 4 gives me this answer as 4.5. By process of elimination, we now know what BC is because BC is 14 minus 4.5, which means it's 9.5. Now I can find GH, which is one of my two possible answers so far. Let's go ahead and use green for that over here. 9.5, that's the corresponding left side, is to, I guess we'll call it X again, that's GH. It's equal to, once again, left to right. This 3:4 ratio down here is very, very helpful for us, all right? It's the magic key that's going to allow us to figure out these problems. 3x, I erase my equal sign there. 9.5 times 4, if I do that in your head, we get 38. X then has to be 12.6 repeating. Oof. All right. So that's actually one of my first two answers that we have. We now know then what FG has to be. 14 minus 12.6 repeating is going to be 1.3 repeating. So we can use that now to figure out our final one, which is going to be AB. And I will use purple for this one. So we're going to use that. AB, whoops, sorry about that. X over 1.3 repeating is equal to 3 over 4. Now, when you put 1.3 in your calculator, try to type as many 3s as possible I'm going to go ahead in my calculator, which you can't see, and type 5 of them in just to be safe. Times that by 3, because when I do that, I get 3.9999. Take a guess what that's supposed to be. 4. So that's 4 equals, and then 4 times x is 4x. And look how nice and even this answer is going to be. X is equal to 1, and so that's our final answer here for AB. So at this point, hopefully this video has helped you answer a few questions or concerns you may have had on this worksheet. When you are finished this, there is a 6.6 review worksheet right below this that you should complete as